So welcome in, guys. Here we are once again with Fabio for our Portuguese Liga NOS roundup.
Liga Win next season. Big announcement. Liga Win next season. Got a new sponsor.
What, the betting company?
The betting company, yeah.
So
£35 million deal with the Portuguese league that's going to be renamed for the next 5 years. Liga Win, which was our name previously before it was Liga NOS. So.
Oh, okay. So what is NOS? I mean, apart from stuff that people put in the back of their car to make it go faster, I mean, I'm guessing that's not what this is.
No, it's not. It's not. So NOS is a big telecommunications company, sort of like BT, but in Portugal, and they offer TV and stuff. So, yeah.
Cool. So you're not sponsored by Fast and Furious merchandise at the moment, then?
No, not quite. Not quite. Would be interesting. Cool.
So Portuguese roundup. So as it stands, obviously the last time we caught up, Sporting were running away with it. How are things currently looking within the top end of the Liga NOS?
Realistically, Benfica and Braga still have to play Sporting, and they can give Porto the title. That's all. Sporting got 2 draws back to back. They don't look good. Their manager's been banned for 15 days.
What? Okay.
Last night they scraped a 1-0 win against Firenze, who were almost bottom of the table. A couple of dodgy decisions that could have given Firenze a couple of penalties that the referee didn't give. Obviously, that's not for me to discuss. That's VAR. Just no comments on that. But Porto, if they win tomorrow, they'll be 6 points behind. And Sporting go away to Braga and Benfica. So if they lose and Porto win all their games, that's got a fight in their hands. And I think Porto's got the head-to-head advantage there. So will be interesting.
And Porto have won their last 5 in a row by the look of it as well. So, I mean, they're in some vein of form at the moment.
They're all the top teams in Portugal, the top 3 teams in Portugal seem to be having the same sort of issue where they're just not scoring a lot of goals. If you look at the results, I mean, exclude Benfica's result last weekend where it was 5-0, but Passos Ferreira had a red card. If you look at all of them, they're 2-0, 2-1s, 1-0 wins. That not a lot of them are comfortable wins. Even Sporting, their wins are the same thing. None of them are comfortable. The Portuguese league has had a lot of investment. There's a lot of better teams, which has also forced this. But realistically, the top 3 teams should be doing better. Sporting have just got so far that luck, that last minute winner, champions luck, and but it seems to be running out. And it could be running out. And if it does, they could struggle. I mean, obviously they're still undefeated. They just have a lot of draws. They're still undefeated. Yes. They just have a lot of draws, but Porto can spoil their party. I mean, they haven't won since 2001. They'll be very eager to get the win, but Benfica and Braga can ruin it for them.
Yeah, I mean they're currently 7 games left in the league. So, wow. That could be interesting, having led it for so long to then absolutely bottle it at the end.
It would be it's the typical Sporting way, to be totally honest with you. They are quite the Spurs of the Portuguese league. Just obviously Sporting actually win titles every now and then, even if they are cups, they win something. But in terms of the league, I mean, they have this famous tradition of being top in December and just being 5th by the end of the season. So, I don't think they'll quite make it to 5th, but they can make it to 2nd. I'll very much appreciate them not winning, even if I equally don't want Porto to win. It's just fun rubbing it in Sporting fans' faces that they haven't won since 2001.
It's the other Lisbon team as well, isn't it? So...
Exactly. Plus, it's also really funny reminding them that their last league celebration is still recorded on cassettes, so that's fun.
Well, VHS, love it, brilliant. That is fantastic.
That is one of the ongoing jokes of Sporting fans. Something that obviously will go to waste if they win. So I think for banter's sake, it's better that Porto wins this season.
Yeah, fair enough. So just having a quick look as well, looking at the table. So obviously you said that Sporting have got to go away to Benfica and Braga. As you said, Benfica have been in. They were in some decent form, had won previous 4, but then tonight have lost to my boys Gil Vicente, who is obviously doing better than I ever did with them. Although no, they're 9th. I did better than that. But yes, so a surprise defeat there, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benfica's been struggling, like I said earlier. Benfica's been struggling for a little while. Don't let those wins, those 4 wins we had in a row, confuse you. I mean, we went seven games without conceding a goal, but if you look at those in detail, majority of those wins where the other teams either had red cards or we had a lucky penalty. It was
Right.
all very touch and go. None of them were actually strong offensive performances, except for that last one where we won 5-0, but Passos Ferreira got a red card to their best player on like the 26th minute, something like that.
Right. Okay.
Benfica struggling. Even their wins are a struggle,
Yeah.
which can't create chances. One thing that we can do is, like, when we do create those chances, is our strikers seems to have found some sort of relative form, which
Yep.
coincided with an interview him saying that he wants to leave for the Premier League. So, clearly he's just showing off to try and get the move away. And I can't blame him. In all fairness, don't really like him.
Which one's that? Is that Sarah?
That's Seferovic, yeah.
Seferovic. I don't think he's that good.
He's not. He's not. He misses a lot of chances. He's been on a good run of form, but before that, he hadn't scored any goals this season. He's only ever had one season where he scored more than 20 goals, and that was a couple of years ago. And
Right.
he's only had 2 seasons where he scored more than 10 goals, which the 120 a couple of years ago, and this one.
Right.
He's not.
Okay.
He's not particularly talented. He works hard. He's very good off the ball, getting in behind, but equally he's offside a lot.
Right. Okay.
He's offside a lot. So
Okay.
he gets
So
a lot of goals disallowed.
in England, he would really struggle then because VAR gives you offside even when you're not offside. So he's got no chance.
No, exactly. It's very similar in Portugal. Our VAR technology is interesting. So
yeah, fair enough. So we're then fourth place. We sort of touched on Benfica Braga, not in the best of form. Obviously, they're 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss for their last number of games. So they're going to need to obviously step up when they do play Sporting, if that's going to be a result. And obviously, Sporting nabbed their main striker, didn't they, in January, in Paulinho? So
they have.
Yeah, so
which this was you could see this coming from Braga, mind you. If you look at the games against the teams they have played against, the teams that are in good form. They won against Guimarães, which is their local rival. That was a 3-0 defeat. I actually watched that game. That was on my birthday. It was a very good game.
Yes.
Famalicão have found some form, and that's when they played Braga. That Famalicão bottom of the table. They were due to go down. Got a new manager in, and since then, in the last 4 games, 2 draws, 2 wins. So that's good for them. Got 2-2 draw against Braga. They then obviously lost to Benfica 2-0, which obviously we're above them in the league, not by much. And if they win tomorrow, we're actually drawn. They lost. They beat against Firenze, which are bottom of the league. Near enough. And they drew against Belenenses, who's also been in some form, or what you could resemble some form for Belenenses, which are actually my second team. So it's nice to see them doing okay.
Fair enough. Well, Belenenses over the last 5 games have got the same. Just looking through, have got the same run of form as Braga. And then, as you said, Paus Ferreira, who Benfica gave a bit of a humping to the other week, sat in 5th. But I mean, 5th and 6th, Guimarães and Paus have lost 4 of their last 5 games each. Yeah. I mean, they've helped to create the gap between the top 4 and the rest of the league.
They have. It's a shame. It's a shame for them because Passos Ferreira were really close. Or still, they can still do it. They can get a record for the most points ever for them in a season in the top division. So I think they're still on track for that. I think that's about 50 points or something like that for them, which is really good. But the wheels have come off. They're a very hard-working team, and that's what got them so many points. However, it's also cost them a bit of injuries, and later in the season they have struggled a little bit. They've got a good team though, and eventually a win. I think it's just a confidence thing. A win will get them back.
Yeah. So I mean, we skip down a bit further, and then obviously we've got a massive gap. I've just noticed as well, my boys, my Hilly, have got the second best form in the league at the moment with 4 wins and a loss, only bettered by Porto and level with Benfica. So I like that a lot.
They are doing all right.
we then dropped down, and obviously I know before it was very, very tight down the bottom end, but there is starting to get some daylight in between certain areas.
Yes.
Um,
Firenze and Nacional. I think Nacional's going to struggle to get out of that hole now,
yeah,
right down at the bottom. In all fairness, there's still only 10 points between them and ninth place, Tondela.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's close still, but yeah, it's
I
I
mean,
think
they're
Nacional is going to go down.
yeah, their man Firenze obviously as well.
Yeah.
In a horrible run of form, and Nacional have lost their last 5 games in a row that I can see here, and maybe more
Yeah.
than that. I've only got the last 5 in front of me.
Yeah.
And Farenense have lost 4 and won 1 of their last 5. So I mean, they're down there. Maritimo have stepped up a little bit with 2 wins over the last few weeks. And as you said, Family Cow have started to pick up a little bit of form as well. And I mean, they've pulled themselves away from it with picking up 8 points of a possible 15 over the last
They
5
brought in
games.
a lot of players in January, and it's
Did
finally
they?
paying off with the new manager.
Right.
Like
Okay.
Ruben Vinagre from the left back from
Yes.
Wolves is in on
Yep.
loan to them, and he's playing so well. Benfica supposedly are in for him now as well. So
Right. Okay.
they're finding some decent form. And I think they'll keep it going. It'll be strange to see both Rio Ave and Nacional go down.
Yep.
They're both very much, especially Maritimo, have been very much a strong foundation in the first division for a long time. Nacional tends to go up and down, bit of a yo-yo club. However, if
Yeah.
both those teams go down, from memory, I don't think that anyone that's coming up is actually from the islands. So they're the only 2 clubs at the moment
Yeah.
that are from the islands, and they're both going down, which it'll be sad for the Islanders, I'm sure.
Yep.
But because there is a big difference. It'll also be interesting to see how clubs in the second division will handle that financially, because that's 2 big trips they have to make to Madeira,
Yes.
which obviously normally they don't have to make. And Portuguese second division, not as fancy, not a lot of money in there, so it's going to be a struggle for them. I think a lot of clubs might struggle to make the trip up there.
Yeah, I mean, Maritimo are not definitely out of it. I mean, they're the ones you would say they're the ones with the opportunity. Form wise, as I said, 2 wins out of the last 5. But they're only 4 points adrift of 14th. Family Cow and Rio Ave on 27-28, but with a game in hand each. Boa Vista on 27 games played, 28 points. So level games, 4 points clear. If Maritimo can pick up a win or 2, they can close that gap. But
Maritimo's next game is against Rio Ave. So as long as Rio Ave don't win tomorrow against Braga.
Yep.
So if they lose tomorrow against Braga and then next weekend lose to Maritimo, then they're only a point behind them, which could be interesting.
That could be, yeah. That's yeah. I mean, that
but
gap
again,
suddenly
for those three clubs above them, Boa Vista, Rio Ave, and Family Cow, have invested heavily this season.
Yeah,
really spent a lot of money, all 3 of those clubs, and that's obviously in comparison to what they usually spend, because I think majority of them have got players in on loan, so it's loans that they've spent money on majority of the time, but still have brought in an influx of players. So it's interesting to see them, all 3 of them, doing so poorly. Boa Vista brought in the likes of Javi Garcia and Rami, which is a World Cup champion with France.
Yes.
So, it's Rio Ave has a lot of sporting players in on loan. Dalla is very talented. And Family Cow's done the same, brought in a lot of players on loan, majority of them from the Spanish league. But and they're the ones that have brought in the most players, and they're sat in pretty terrible places in the league, which is a surprise.
Yeah. So just to sort of wrap up on the club side of things, and I know that we sort of mentioned this right at the very one of the early Portuguese roundups, and it's around the goals side of things. So I mean, only one club in the whole league has an average of more than 2 goals per game, being Porto, and it's only just over that. But I was looking at the goal difference, and apart from the top 4. Braga being 20 plus, Benfica 30, Porto 31, and Sporting 36. there are only 2 other teams with a plus goal difference, one being Paus Ferreira with +1 and the other being Santa Clara with +3. Every other club is on a minus goal difference.
Yeah, Santa Clara is not a surprise. Last season, they actually had one of the best defenses in Europe, which is ridiculous. They have a centre-back who spent a lot of his time in the Benfica B squad. His name is Fabio Cardozo. He left 5 years ago now, and he's still regarded by a lot of people, Benfica fans, Porto fans, Sporting fans, whoever, as the best centre-back in the league.
Wow.
Okay. It's a real surprise that that he hasn't left a few years ago, and he's still there, still going strong. He's a bit infamous for a mistake he made against Benfica once, where Bozo, obviously, he's a former Benfica player, and they're I'm not sure if you've noticed, but their symbol's very similar to us. There was a partnership between the two clubs, and he made a small mistake that cost him the game. Benfica won the league that year by 2 points. So there's a bit of an infamous decision that he made.
I'm just looking here. I can see the logo, and essentially the Santa Clara one is the Benfica logo, but with a badge outline.
Yeah. It wasn't always the case. They only added that badge a couple of seasons ago, I believe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, they're very similar. So yeah, it's not a surprise that Santa Clara have a positive goal difference. What I will say is that this is a common occurrence because teams tend to get turned over by the top 4.
Yeah.
So although they can battle all they like between 6th and 18th or 5th and 18th, they do get turned over by the big 3 quite regularly. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. Because look, you just have to look at Porto scoring 55 goals.
Yeah.
I mean, the other 2 clubs, although we haven't quite made it to 50, both Benfica and Sporting at 49, you know, very close as well. So, you know, those goals have to go against someone, just most likely Boa Vista with 40 goals conceded. But
that's fair.
And obviously their firepower isn't quite as good as the rest of the clubs.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just looking further down as well, and you've got Portimonense on 29 points, sat in 12th, but with only -1 goal difference. So they must have given a couple of spankings to the teams below them, and managed to avoid a number of spankings.
Yeah, they. I think they've had a interesting season.
Yes,
they've always famously had like good strikers like Jackson Martinez for the last couple of seasons, but he's left now, I believe.
Yeah.
And what saved them this season is Beto. He is interesting. He's an interesting player. I don't think there's any other way to say it. He's tall, he's strong, he's got a reasonable amount of technique. He's very, very physical, and I think that causes a lot of problems for other clubs. And I don't think he's got that many goals, but he's their top goal scorer by far.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's helped them get away a little bit. Considering he didn't play every game because he started on the bench majority of games for them.
Yeah.
And he's kind of just turned up eventually.
Cool.
Again, the top 3 are after him as well.
just buy the best players from elsewhere and keep it rolling.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fair enough. Cool. So we started to touch on the players there. Guys, we will wrap up on the league side of things, but we will catch Fabio a little bit later on to delve a bit deeper into the player setup. But for now, let's go back to me live time. Welcome back in, guys. So we're here again with Fabio. We are now going to look at who are the movers and shakers in the player stakes within Portugal. So top scorers and things like that at the moment. I know we kind of touched initially. I'm just going to jump in. We touched on Haris Seferovic.
Yep.
Or no, Seferovic. Seferovic. There we go. Seferovic. We touched on him earlier. and you sort of said he'd hit a rich vein of form, second in the overall goal scorers list at the moment. Now, I know when we spoke previously, he was nowhere near that. I think he was down in fifth, maybe even lower with 9 goals. So he's obviously, as you say, hit that rich vein of form.
He has. He's doing okay, and assists wise, he's doing okay as well. I think he went 5-6 games in a row where he scored, including for his national team of Switzerland, where he's the starting striker. However, he misses a lot. He's one of those strikers where he needs about 10 chances to score one. And just coincided with Benfica finding a bit of form themselves, creating a lot of chances, mostly, again, like I said earlier, against those sides which either a man down or where we've had a penalty and have gotten lucky and they've had to just chase after the ball. However, he put them away for a little while. So that was very good. But
Can't rely on him.
Can't rely on him. He's not that striker that you're like, you know what? I know he's going to get you a goal a game. Yeah. He's just
okay. Top Pedro Gonzalez at Sporting. Only one clear of I'm going to start Harris. He's only one clear of Harris. He's only one clear of Harris at the moment on 17. And as you were saying, Sporting have kind of started to tighten up.
Full away.
Yeah,
and it coincided with Pedro Gonçalves' goals going a bit dry because he was about 5 goals clear at one point in the top goal scorers table. However, he stopped scoring goals because he started getting played out wide and instead of down the middle, which was a strange decision. But I mean, he got a few man of the matches there as well. But yeah, he stopped scoring goals. The team stopped performing, and I think in the last few games, I think he's only got a couple of goals. I think the last 5 games, he's only got a couple of goals.
So was he pushed wider when they brought in Paulinho?
He was pushed wider.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which is fair enough because Paulinho at the time was also one of the top goal scorers in the league, but can't find him now.
No, he's certainly not showing in the top 5.
No.
Okay.
Not in the top 10.
Not even in the top 10. Wow. So, third place at the moment, Mario Gonzalez, which
scored a hat-trick today.
That helps. That definitely helps elevate him.
Scored a hat-trick today.
We were talking about
in the 12 minutes.
In 12 minutes.
In 12 minutes, he got a hat-trick for Tondela today. So, never heard of him before. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what to tell you about him. Honestly, don't spend a lot of time watching Tondela games. It's nice to... the first time I heard of him was today when I checked the Tondela score because they were 3-0 up in 12 minutes and saw that he scored all 3 of them. So that was interesting to see. And now here he is, third in the top goal scorers list.
Well, in that case, that kind of kills off my next couple of questions. So we'll move on.
What were they going to be?
It was going to be, we were talking around the lower teams and not scoring loads of goals. And obviously, Tondela have only bagged 28 goals all season and he's scored almost 50% of them. What can you tell me about him? And what you can tell me about him is nothing. I know he scored a hat-trick today.
Yeah, he scored a hat-trick today. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know much about him. Never heard of him before. It looks like he's joined from Clermont Foot this season from France. And I mean, I've
never come across him. He's not someone that's ever jumped on my radar through Football Manager, through general football viewing or anything like that. Obviously, I don't watch much Portuguese football, which is obviously why we have you on.
It's interesting. I'm looking on who's scored now just to look at his stats this season. Yeah. And out of the top 5 scorers, out of the top, well, in all fairness, out of the majority of the top 10, they've all got 7.1 or above that match rating averaged across the season. He's got 6.8. So
wow.
So I mean, he's got 2 men of the match. I'm assuming one of them was today. Other than that, he's not got very much in his locker.
That's worrying though. 6.8, and he scored almost 50% of his team's goals, but he's only pumped out a 6 point. Although that said, he has scored. I suppose he could have, if he scored a hat-trick here, a double there, he may have actually only scored in 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so joint with him on 12 goals this season is Sergio Oliveira of Porto. a holding mid with 12 goals, penalty
famously
taker.
scored and free kick taker. He's the one. Did you watch the Porto Juventus game?
Yes, I did. Yes.
The one who scored that free kick under the...
Yeah.
That's him.
Right, yeah.
Great free kick taker. Free kicks for him are basically penalties.
Right, okay.
In my opinion, better long shot taker than Bruno.
Wow, okay.
But he's not as agile, so he doesn't get as many chances to shoot from outside the box. So he doesn't create a lot of space for himself. But when he does, God, can he strike a ball.
Portuguese?
He is,
yeah. In amongst the Portugal squad or not?
He had his first couple of call-ups. He's 28. He's a late bloomer.
Right. Late bloomer. Okay. So okay.
He did show a lot of promise when he was 18. He was at the under sub-20s World Cup. It was him and Nelson Oliveira. I'm not sure.
What a legend! Yeah, what a legend! Yeah,
my
he was
favourite
at Reading,
player.
Wasn't he? Nelson Oliveira was at Reading. He was brilliant, and we couldn't afford him. At the end of it, we were due to sign him, and we couldn't afford him, and he buggered off to Panathinaikos. No, AEK Athens. Went to AEK Athens, and then 2 weeks after he signed for him, we suddenly got an influx of money, and we went and put it on Lucas João and Georgie Puskas instead. And I'll be honest,
fairness,
not bad. But at the time,
especially considering Sergio Oliveira's seasons since he's left Reading have been injury after injury, irregular game time, and that's, well, in all fairness, that's been his whole career. When he was at Benfica, is one of his first ever games. We had Zenit in the Champions League, and Bruno Alves was playing for Zenit at the time.
Yep.
Went through him. He tore his knee ligaments, and never the same again. Never played for Benfica again. So that's when we started loaning him out.
And also questionable attitude sometimes.
Very questionable attitude. He didn't have a questionable attitude back then. I think he did become a bit bitter after all his injuries, because I think everyone could see the talent there. I think he's been definitely a bit frustrated by the standard of his career, considering what it could have been.
Yeah, and I think when he was at Reading, he had the right attitude, because I think he wanted to find a club and show his worth. And I remember Tyrone Mings stamping on his face.
Yeah.
And blood everywhere, and he basically came back a couple of weeks later stitched up with a mask on, and then he tore his hamstring, but he was so desperate to try and help Reading stay up, he went and saw some soothsayer, got some special treatment on it, and he was due to be out for 10 weeks and came back soon. So yeah, he was it's a weird one, because you hear lots of things about his attitude, but my only understanding from the time he was at Reading was actually the guy wanted to play football, and that was what he was desperate to do. So
it was the same when he was at Benfica. He was really good. Sorry, you got onto this conversation because Sergio Oliveira and Nelson Oliveira, they're not related at all, just really common Portuguese last name. They were in the sub-20 Brazil World Cup back in 2010, maybe
2011. Yeah,
maybe, and something like that. And Nelson Oliveira was actually the second top goal scorer. Portugal got to the final against Brazil. We lost in the final against Brazil. Nelson Oliveira was the top goal scorer. Oscar, the former Chelsea player, was actually the top goal scorer. And Sergio Oliveira used to take all our penalties and free kicks. And I remember thinking, Nelson he's the number 7. He's clearly the new Ronaldo, bags in goals. Why is he not taking free kicks? But I mean, Sergio Oliveira is something else. Even back then, as an 18-year-old, he could already do it, and he still got it. Got it.
Fair. And then we're number 5 in the top scorers. We've got Mehdi Taremi with 10 again of Porto.
Yep, he's finding his form. He's a player that he was at Rio Ave last season. Very tidy. Scored against 2 of the top 3 clubs. I think he scored against Porto and Benfica. Both of them were in for Taremi. Porto got him. He suits Porto's gameplay. He's very physical, very aggressive, really good at holding up the ball. Start of the season, he was lacking goals, but it's something he's found. And I think majority of his goals were in the last 10 games. So if you look at his minutes played in comparison to the rest, so he's got 10 goals in 1,600 minutes, whereas Pedro Gonçalves got 17 in 2,100. So
okay,
That's 500 minutes less, and he's still got 10 goals. So that's quite good.
Yeah. Yeah,
good.
it's
Got
an
six
extra
assists as well.
extra 6 games, isn't it? 6-7 games. So, okay, cool. So we drop down into the assists, and I'll be honest, this is the Benfica Porto run, isn't it? We've got 4 players from Benfica and 2 from Porto. No one else is invited to play. Everton Suarez atop with 7 assists, followed by
starting 11.
And he's not starting 11. We've got Alex Grimaldo, who is the left wing back.
Our left back, yeah.
Yeah,
left
with
wing
6.
back recently as we're playing 3 at the back, yeah.
Yeah, with 6. Darwin Núñez, who is a striker, but not really a striker.
Yeah, striker that doesn't score goals. Glad we spent 20 million on him.
Yeah. And then Harris. Harris is in there with 6 as well. And then from Porto, we have got Jesus Corona.
Right back / right
wing back again. Yeah. And Mehdi Taremi. So, I mean, we've got a batch of players there who have featured. So Taremi and Harris, both on the goal scorers list as well.
Yeah.
A couple of fullbacks, which shows how the football is played in Portugal. Expansive, attacking.
In all fairness, with Corona, Corona's not traditionally a right back. He played right back at the start of the season because they didn't have a left back when they sold Telles. So because they didn't have a left back, they put their right back at left back called Manafá. They dropped Corona. But they've since found Sanusi, who's a reasonably good left back. They put Manafá back at right back and push Corona forward again. In my opinion, Corona is the best player in the Portuguese league.
Really?
He's very nimble, very quick feet, very aggressive. So I think he's very talented. It's a shame. Again, he's a bit of a late bloomer, and he's just going to be recognised at Porto. But he's if you look on his highlights package, it's impressive.
Yeah. Okay.
He's very, very good.
There you go, guys. If you've not seen Jesus Manuel Corona, as in the drink, or
as in the drink,
or the pandemic. Yeah.
Which was funny because in the Portuguese league, after he's only got 2 goals this season, but after the pandemic was over originally and football started to come back, Corona was the first player to score a goal in the Portuguese league.
I remember that. I remember it may well have even been you saying it at the time. How ironic.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Corona's really, really done and Corona's in. Love it.
Yep.
So Everton Suarez, obviously we said, I know we said a couple of times, still not in the regular, even though 7 assists this season, still not a regular starter for Benfica.
He's got talent. He's very predictable. His biggest thing whilst he was in Brazil for Grêmio was he used to cut in a lot on his right foot and just put the ball far posts, score a lot of goals. I mean, he's starting 11 for Brazil as well and scoring very similar goals. He can dribble. He can take 2, 3, 4 players on and put them into the back of the net. For Benfica so far, can't really do that. He's got a few assists, as you see there, the 7 of them. He's got a reasonable match rating. However, it's not all about statistics. And realistically, the amount of players he tries to take on and fails, the amount of times he loses the ball, he harms the team a lot. He actually did okay when he came on today, but again, in a final third, just like the rest of our squad, he struggles.
Okay.
He does a couple of things which people don't expect, so he's a bit unpredictable, but then when he gets in the final third, everyone knows he has no left foot, so he's going to cut into his right foot and try and shoot, try and bend one back post, but it's just not working for him.
Right. Okay. And just out of interest, so Darwin Núñez obviously is a striker, but does he play actually up and through the middle for Benfica, or does he play a bit wider? Or
it depends on what sort of formation we're playing. If we're playing 5 at the back, and Seferovic is out for whatever reason, he will play up top by himself. He does like to drift wide and then put in crosses himself, which in all fairness, when he was doing that is when he was getting a lot of assists, which is why he's up there for assists. And then he stopped doing that, stopped scoring goals, stopped getting assists, had a few injuries, got coronavirus, and he was just with awful confidence hadn't scored in about 3 months. He got a goal last weekend from a Seferovic assist, and he cried after he scored. And I'm hoping it's a sign of better things to come. He's very young. He's 21 years old. He spent a lot of money on him. He came from the second division in Spain. It's just hoping that he turns out okay. He's not a bad player. Very similar to Everton. Doesn't have much of a left foot. So you see, he seems to be making those wrong decisions on, especially in the box, where if he should shoot, he'll pass. If he should pass, he'll shoot. And it's just not paying off. But eventually, I'm sure he'll find his feet again, because he's got talent. You could tell he's got talent, but he's just not making the right decisions.
Okay, so we'll have a quick roundup as well. Just looking through on the cards and the discipline issues, and no one will be surprised to know that Nicolas Otamendi is top of the yellow cards currently at Benfica, with 10 yellow cards this season. Not one single person in England or as a Man City fan will be surprised to see that. And equally, the other person on 10 yellow cards, I'm not surprised to see it, Igor Nogueira, because he was an animal at Gil Vicente, and every time I had to do a press conference and they would say, he's been booked again, and I'd have to do the standard. In the position he plays, is expected to get booked. So, real life, it's true. Football Manager gets it bang on sometimes.
Exactly. In all fairness, with Otamendi, it's the position that our managers put him in. Obviously, he was always liable for a yellow card anyway. It's the way he played at Porto. It's the way he played in the Prem. It's the way he played for Valencia. It's just the way he plays. However, so when we use three at the back, we use the centre player to be the one, or the middle centre back to be the one that leads the line. And when we're counter pressing, when we've just lost the ball, he's the one that makes that first interception. When the ball goes into the playmaker from the opposition trying to get a break, he's the first one there. A lot of the time he gets the ball, wins us a lot of good chances up the pitch. Equally can get a few yellow cards.
Cool. So playing more as a libero than an actual out and out centre back. Okay.
Exactly. And obviously, if we're two at the back, we use Weigl for that instead. But just at the back makes us a little bit fragile. Okay,
and then we'll just I'll skip through because all the other guys are on 9, and they're all the teams that are sort of down the bottom end of the table, which is kind of what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And also with the red cards, it's quite interesting to see there are a batch of players all on 2 red cards this season.
Yeah.
But 2 of them come from Boa Vista and 2 of them come from Braga.
So Boa Vista are a famously aggressive team.
Yeah.
They're the sort of team that have that mentality of, just go through players, make them aware you're there. They always have Chidozie Owezian, which is one of the players that has 2 red cards. He's a former Porto player. In all fairness, he might still be on loan. I'm not sure if they've purchased him from Porto. Javi Garcia, when he was at Benfica, had that enforcer job role at Benfica. Yeah. I'm not sure. He dropped into centre-back at Man City, didn't he? He was a holding mid for us. Yeah. He was a holding mid for us, and a very good one at that. So they are famous for having that mentality, for being very aggressive, very hard on their challenges. I can't remember who their manager was at the start of the season. I think they've switched since, but I remember him also being famous for having that sort of mentality with all the teams he's managed at.
Yeah. And I mean, it's no surprise actually then when we look at Braga have had the 2 of their players sent off twice already this season, that their form hasn't been fantastic. And it's obviously something that's hindering them in any kind of further push, because if that's happening across the games, and even if there's other people with just 1 red card, a couple of them, you're finishing a lot of games in your season with 10 men.
Yeah, and it's a shame as well, because Fran Sergio, the guy that does have the 2 red cards, very talented, one of their best players. And the thing with Braga, their starting 11 has got a lot of talent, but their bench is still very lacking. Fran Sergio, probably one of the best midfielders in the league. Unfortunately, late bloomer, so he's not going to get a move anytime soon. And last season, he was playing alongside Palhinha, which is very talented. This season, he's playing alongside Ali, who is very, very good as well. But again, they're two holding midfielders, and they're going to pick up a lot of yellow cards.
Yeah, and I just like this guy's name, Rafael Defendi. Defendi with two red. He's a goalkeeper as well, is he?
He's a goalkeeper.
Fantastic. Defendi, the goalkeeper. So that's going to confuse people. He's the last line of Defendi. And in some situations, he is no line of Defendi because he has managed to get himself sent off twice this season.
Yeah.
Absolute carnage from Defendi. I love that. That's great.
He is very good though. He's been around in the league a lot. He's moved from club to club. He's 37 years old, and he refuses to retire. But he's a good little goalkeeper. Very smart.
When he finishes.
The issue the issue is he's very slow, and as football's starting to come more towards the asking goalkeepers to come out for challenges, he just struggled. He's not being able to keep up with time.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Bless him. Time to hang up your gloves, Rafael Defendi. Heard it here first. If he now retires in the summer, I'm taking all credit for that. Brilliant. So that has given us a full roundup again, guys, on the Portuguese league as it stands, players and the teams. What we will be doing is re-reviewing and revisiting this in probably a special down the local right at the end of the season. So we'll be looking, Fabio would be due to be on in again in about 3 weeks, but we will try and get all of those roundups at the same sort of time so we can find out who the final winners and losers will be. For now, though, Fabio, it has been a pleasure as ever, my friend.
The pleasure's all mine.
And we will go back to Me Lifetime. Catch you soon, guys.